Right. So Andy is coming in at the beginning of the process we started last week. So Andy, you are going to start by gridding a 9 by 12 inch canvas sheet or 8 by 10, something like that, by finding the halfway points of each edge, right? And creating the 4 equal quarters. And then you're going to start, and these pink marks are the halfway points between, so these are like the quarter points of each thing. I'll mark them. So you're going to start by sketching in, there's your quarter points. You're going to start by drawing this line in pencil and marking these marks, which are the halfway points of each halfway. And then you're going to start with the pink outline. And then you're going to go from the pink outline to the red outline. And then from the red outline, you'll go to the yellow. That
So
makes
mixture of the grid and envelope method.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And you can just send it over as you're working on it, and I will help correct it. I'd like to see it after you get the envelope in, before you start getting in the red. So send me after each step, each color. This, I trust you to get your grid right, but like send me after the envelope, and then send me after the pink envelope and then the red envelope, so I can see where things are. That
Got
work
it.
for you?
Perfect. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And ladies, I don't know, I think this duck is kind of beautiful. Pat just sent over hers. Francesca, did you send over yours? So I can see where you're at. We're going to start with the glaze, but the first thing I want to do, I'm going to pull this down so you don't see it. The first thing I'm going to do, Pat, is try to show you, we're going to use background color for you to reshape your face so that
I already put my background color on it.
What's that?
I already put my background color on my palette.
Excellent. So let me, I'm gonna see if I can get in here and actually.
I'm a bit I mean I didn't do the head yet.
Okay, so go ahead and work on the head. Go ahead.
Okay.
And work on the head.
I don't have burnt umber. What shall I do?
Burnt umber. Do you have burnt
No.
sienna?
Yeah.
Mix burnt sienna with blue.
Okay.
Just
So
replace burnt sienna with the burnt umber mix.
okay, perfect.
Pat, I need to see this. Can I see your whole canvas, like including the sides? Because I need to see. I feel like your duck is a little narrow. I guess I'm trying to figure out, I want to get your drawing
Okay.
fixed, because I think your drawing is too narrow, but I need to see your whole canvas to be able to know that for sure. Great color mixing though.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so 1, 2. So the first thing I'm doing here, as I look at yours, oh shoot, I need to, all right. So as I look at yours right here, hold on. The problem is I'm looking at, you know what? I might even just print this so I can show you. Give me a second. I'm going to share this to my laptop so I can print it out. Messenger here. Chance. Send. I want to print this out because I feel like your body is too narrow. The body of the duck is too narrow. So that's the problem. Like, I'm not going to tell you to correct the head until we have the body correct.
Okay. Okay.
And if you want to, while I'm printing this out, you can take a look at it yourself and see if you can figure it out. What you're going to do, of course, is take like the width and compare it to the length here.
Oh, okay.
So why
on the-
don't you do that using the source? The source is in the thread. Well, I print here. Hold on.
You mean the width of the duck and its reflection?
How I mean, you can use whatever you want. You can compare the width to just the duck itself, or you can compare the width. I would just compare the width to the duck itself, not the reflection. The width is not the reflection. It's actually the
Okay.
actual body.
My width is 4.5 inches,
Mm-hmm.
and to the top of the duck, it's also 4.5 inches.
All right,
Or-
so now you need to check and see, does yours, it doesn't have to be 4.5 inches, but is the width of the duck equal to the top of the head of the duck on your piece?
Huh. Well,
Is it-
just do it on my screen, my iPhone screen.
Well, I mean, you don't have to do it on your iPhone screen, just look at your painting. You're checking your actual painting now.
Those are the numbers I just gave you.
Yes, but it's not about numbers, right? It's just an equal. It's an equal. So now you go to your painting and you check the width of your painting, the width of the duck in your painting to the height of the duck in your painting. If they are not the same, there's a problem.
Well, that's the only measurement I gave you is the duck in my painting.
Oh, you need to look at the source on the, you need to check the source on the,
On my iPhone?
yeah, check the source on your iPhone.
Okay,
Do you have the source?
yeah. So it's
Okay.
like just under 1.5 across and just under 3 and no, just under about, wait.
Is it equal to the height?
1.5.
In general, when you start these measurements, you want to start them from the source, so you know what you're looking for, right?
Yeah. They're pretty close. It's a little bit shorter on the vertical.
It's a little bit shorter on the vertical. Okay, so that means your head is in the wrong place. And the wrong is much too big. Can you see that?
Or my stomach's too little.
Well, yeah, you could extend, that's true. You could try, it might be easier to extend out the width of your bird. Right? Rather
Okay,
than,
let me do that then. Just not by
Alright.
very much, right?
yeah, hold on. But what I want to do is I'm going to print that to show you what that would look like. So give me
Okay.
just a second. I'm going to print it.
It does look a little skinny looking at it,
Well, the head's too big for the body.
for the body, right?
So if you look at the source, you'll see where does the beak line up with the edge? And that's what the here, hold on. Move this to portrait. And then I'm going to print this as a black and white. Duh, come on. I'm going to print this out and I'll show you what I mean, but you're doing the good work right now. Hold on. There we go. There we go. don't know why my printer is taking so long. It's printing, but it's taking a while. So while I'm doing that, I'm gonna pop the Zoom screen back on. So when you're trying to check your measurements on something, oops, make sure you can see me. All right, so I'm going to pop the spotlight back up so you can see it. So when you're trying to check your measurements on something, right? So I'm looking at this duck and I'm like, do I have this duck the correct proportions? I'm going to come over here. And on my source, I'm going to check from here to here. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as the top to bottom is pretty much the same width, which means that everything else has to fit in here. So I'm going to come over here and check this. Yeah, that's pretty much, in my case, that's pretty much going that way. So you, as long as in your painting, this proportion is correct, then you'll know to correct whether you need to carve in over here.
Right.
Or maybe it's easier to bring the body of the duck out.
I think it's easier to bring the body of the duck out.
I'm thinking it is too.
It's going to require some stuff up at the head
Yes,
too.
so I'm going to sketch it out for you right here. So you have this going on. So do you see what's happening? The head is too big. I mean, it's too bad because I love the drawing is really, the painting is really nice. But yeah, if you go out here like this, and you bring out you'll bring out everything. And maybe even then this becomes an easier, and let me just double check that.
Right.
The problem with this is that then, well, it might be okay. From here to here. Yeah, you're going to need to bring your head up a little bit. And then this shape is going to come in a little bit.
Thank you for doing this. Are you going to send that over?
Yeah, but
Thank
I'm
you.
like showing, I'm just sort of showing you kind of, and
Yeah.
this comes in a little bit. I agree with you. So it's more like that.
Okay.
So
little like
your
Snoopy now.
job is going to be to take background color and start by sketching in over. Currently, your forehead is right. I know it's like here. Here's where
Yeah.
your current, I'm going to draw your current shapes in so you can see where they are. And then the pink is where they need to be. See that?
Yeah.
Oh,
And then white on the bottom. White and blue. I mean, green.
yep. Well, but mostly just remember what you're trying to do is capture. Don't worry so much about color right now. Take your background and paint in up here.
Well, on the bottom, I have to worry about color. 'cause I
Oh,
have to-
yeah. I would just use a little white right now.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit of either a little bit of white or a little bit of, yeah, a little bit of maybe some green and white.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's your fixes. So that's how you fix using paint, which I find really helpful, right?
Yeah.
So I'll take a
Right.
picture of this if that would be helpful to you.
It would. I'd appreciate it.
And that's why we sometimes go, okay, we're gonna fix. Hold on, sorry. My phone did this weird update today, and now the whole everything looks different and I don't know how to find anything and I'm like, ah. Okay. I'm gonna send this over.
You talked about getting an iPhone. Did you go ahead and do that?
Not yet. I just spent money buying plane tickets to take my vacation in June.
Where are you going?
What's that?
Where are you going?
I'm gonna go, this is really trippy. I'm going to Boston, which is where I went to school in Worcester, Massachusetts, a long, long time ago, college. And then my first newspaper job was at a small daily called Foster's Daily Democrat in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So I still have friends who worked at that paper with me who live there. I'm going to see them. I have college friends. So I haven't been to this part of the country in like 20 years.
Nice.
It's
I've
weird.
never been to Boston. It's one of those places I always wanted to go.
It's neat. It's really neat.
Philadelphia, I'd like to go to.
I'll-
Wow. It's very nice to go to see old friends. Good
Totally.
idea.
Right? Although I'm a little bit cringing because of the person that I was a really much young and dumber then. Thought I was smarter.
Yeah, but it's nice.
Hello,
Hi, Diana.
Hi, Diana.
Hi, Diana.
I'm joining you for a short while.
Anyway, so no iPhone yet.
Vacation,
Travel
trips,
first.
friends.
Travel first, then.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
Right? All right. let's-
Travel first before technology.
Travel before like work.
Yeah.
So what we were just reviewing is, and I don't know if, I'm hoping this was helpful to you too.
Yeah.
Francesca, is to
Yeah.
see how you, once you painted stuff on. I kind of knew when Pat finished last week that the proportions were off, but I was like, there's no point really talking about this now. Let's wait till it dries. Then next week, when you're kind of fresh, we can revisit the painting. And
Yeah,
aren't you liking this a little bit better, Pat? He's cutie. He's a cutie.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on the head, so I probably could have used a critique a little earlier, but this is gonna work.
I mean, I tried.
No, this is fine. This is, and I've got it now in
It's a
front
good
of me
way
so
to
I can look at it.
learn. I mean, we get in as much as we can. I think actually what happened is you drifted outside your lines when you started painting.
Yeah, I think so
I
too.
can't, like, I think your drawing was more correct and which is a very easy thing to do, to move.
You know, it's funny is I actually brought in my sides. So I should
That
have,
was the problem.
yeah, I
that was
should have
the
just
problem.
let it go and it would have been perfect.
Yep, isn't that funny? I'm just looking to see, I think my proportions are right. And when you guys kind of have your sketch in,
Shall I put the white on the neck and
get it
also do the
everywhere.
beak?
Yeah, but look at this, it's not really white. Great,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Did you say it's not really white?
It's gray. It's
Huh.
white that's in shadow, so it's not white. It's gray. We paint it as gray.
Oh, you're right. Oh,
Yes, I am.
always. You're funny that way.
I'm kidding.
Now, if you can't be right in this class, when else you can be right? Okay.
Diana, are you getting rid of the ground on your orange trees?
I did. I did, I did this. Can you see?
Nice. Yep, yep.
But if I knew that was the idea, I would have done the tree lower, but it
Why don't you
is,
just do the tree lower on top? Just use a different color.
no, but starting the tree a little bit lower as I'm not doing the ground. But-
Yeah, don't do the ground. Why don't you just re-sketch over with the new idea?
Nah. Nah, I'm gonna go and change water.
All right, next
Be
painting.
right back.
I might do this. So that you see it upside down. I'll do this for you too, Andy. It's helpful to look at your source upside down. It helps you see the shapes better.
Would you prefer if we, since I'm in the early stage, that I draw it upside down too?
Whatever, if you want to. I mean, yeah, I think it would help.
Okay.
It would help.
What shall I mix together with white to get the right gray we want?
I think you want, well, don't worry about getting the right gray because we're gonna go over it with other layers.
Okay.
So I would say work, mix burnt sienna and ultramarine blue and with white.
Okay.
Pat, I just realized that I should probably have had you glaze first, but it's okay. I'm gonna demonstrate glazing, but you don't have to do it. We might have you do it just in the places that are dry.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, Diana Lotto is just so happy with the class. I get a really happy phone call from him at the end of every class going, wasn't it
Oh.
great?
It is a great class. It is a great class.
He loves it. He's having such a good time.
Oh, that's so good.
I know, I'm
So
happy.
good to hear.
What?
That's so good to hear. That means he's not gonna give up on us.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's also fun. It's also fun with a different perspective.
It is.
Yeah.
He's really a wonderful teacher. Although, as my friend JC has pointed out, oh my God, it's like you two are brother and sister. You're like male and female.
Yeah.
If you've ever found anybody who is like you as a person.
That's good. And he really loves you.
Oh yeah, I love him too. No, he's like, afterwards we were talking, what do we call this? I said, I've been really talking about these classes and how they're not just art classes. There's several things going on. There's the art gym, the discipline and the social stuff of it, right? Like that people are learning a skill and they're practicing it regularly. And you just keep coming back each week because you can never get too good at it, right?
Yep.
And then there's the art salon, because what we're doing has artistic significance and ideas, and particularly in that class where you're trying to take what everybody's doing and see how it relates to your personal zeitgeist and then the zeitgeist of the culture.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's part art salon and then it's part meditation, because you kind of forget like what time it is. You're enjoying yourself. He called me up and said, they're all smiling, Leah. They're all smiling. They're all smiling. Like they see, they're all smiling. They're so happy. I'm smiling. I'm happy. He's like, I'm in my 50s. I want to be happy, you know? I want to smile. I want to be happy.
Yeah.
He's really wonderful.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so knowledgeable. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think he's got one of those eidetic memories. He remembers everything he reads and he's able to put it in context. I remember we had an American friend, a mutual friend, when we were living in Budapest, and we were having some kind of conversation about this, and he made some comment about David Byrne and who he was married to and blah, blah, blah. And this American artist, she looked at him and said, how do you know this? And all this information. And he looked at her like, what? She said, wait, how do you know all this information? And he said, I read. What do you read? He's like, books. Like I read. And you could see, the sort of classic anti-intellectual American is like, what? You read? You read something like, what? It totally went past her head. Like she was like looking for the Cliff Notes version. And he was like, I read. I was in a war-torn country. I ran from my home. And once I married my wife and we went to the US, I walked into a library and could not believe my luck. All those books in one place.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's from Georgia, no?
The Republic of Georgia, yeah.
Yeah.
And as I was telling Pat, he was chased off when he was 18, he had to run
No.
out of
Oh
his
my
home.
God.
Yeah,
Really?
this was 1990. He lived in a part of Georgia next to Chechnya called Abkhazia. And you probably know this history. The Russians like basically just invaded and took and chased everyone out and killed everybody who remained. So he ran with his mother, got on a ship, watched the Russians bombing the shit out of his city, and he's never been back. Yeah.
But he said he's going back, right?
No, he goes to Tbilisi. He doesn't go to, he can't go,
Okay.
he can't go to Abkhazia. He can't go to where he was born.
Because,
The Russians don't let him in.
And if he gets
Yeah.
in, they might not let him out.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's
The
even
business,
worse.
They won't let him in. That's the big thing. And that's something they cemented in 2008 when I was living in Armenia, when they advanced up to Tbilisi and then turned around and came back. They basically reinforced those borders, that Abkhazia border, which is on the Black Sea, which is the sort of most beautiful part of Georgia. Well, that's not really true. Georgia's very beautiful all over, but the seaside, they basically just took it. And, somebody else is living in his apartment now. And like he and his mother had to live in this 1-room apartment for 7 years in Tbilisi. And it was hard. They had a hard life. So he goes to Georgia, which became his adopted home as a young adult, but he can't go back to where he's from. They won't let him in.
Excuse me.
I mean, there's a lot of parts of the world like that.
Unfortunately, yes. In Italy, we will have on Tuesday, we will celebrate the end of the World War II, because it's called the Liberation Day, the day when like the Germans and the fascists were had to leave the country.
Right.
Yeah, so but it was like I was not even born, so
Of
yeah,
course.
it's strange to think that someone my age has had to live this experience on directly. For me, it's like the past, no, my parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Although Germany, of all countries, I believe has actually made an attempt to correct its wrongs. I don't really know any other countries that do that. Certainly we don't here in the US.
Mm.
We just pretend we didn't do them.
It's difficult.
Yeah. I'll probably turn off the recording now, just so. Excellent. Okay, so now that once you kind of corrected your painting, and you can see this painting's about half done. I'll put this here. You can really see it. And notice that I put my, I used my background just kind of to help shape my head, really. That was like my main point, and a little bit the body, because I, of course, also made that mistake and brought the body way too much up. So it's not everywhere. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the value of glazing again. And I thought, and I finally have glazing materials. So I thought I would, like, in oil. So I thought I might start by demonstrating how a glaze can like really push things forward. And when I look at this, I think I need, trying to decide if I want like a brownish glaze or kind of a blue glaze. I could do something really crazy like phthalo blue. Let's see what happens. Phthalo blue is this very bright electric blue. Just laid it down. I have a pretty big brush. And this is something called Galkyd Light. It's thick. There we go, Galkyd Light. It's a Gamma product. It's very thick. It's kind of honey is the consistency. Pouring it right on my palette. And then I'm blending in just a tiny bit of color, so that when I come across, oh yeah, I think this is the right, I think this is going to do what I want it to do. The nice thing about glazes, I know I talk about glazes a lot, but I don't know if I talk about the sort of many properties of them. As you can see, actually, I think this is fantastic already. Can you see how already, even though I'm pushing back some of the, I'm losing some of the contrast, I can regain that easily. But what I'm doing is adding a little consistency and depth. If I glaze everything one color, I kind of unify it a little bit. Even, and I have to use quite a bit, actually, of Galkyd. I like to use Galkyd Light You could also use linseed oil. There's several things that you could use to glaze in oil. In acrylic, of course, you would glaze with water. So even though this duck is kind of pushed back, I've added some depth to the painting just by adding this. Can you see how the parts of the painting that are already here are kind of getting a little extra
Mhm. Yeah,
something? I may want to keep all of it. I may not want to keep it. But the point is, it's here. And now I have some tones I can push back and forward. I picked phthalo blue because I think there's an actually blue in this, but there's a lot of kind of bluish greens. And so I wanted to get a little, and I had a lot of orange on my canvas. So I wanted to get a fair amount of sort of blue tones in this sort of bright jewel tone blue that is phthalo. But of course you can glaze in any color. And then as I'm thinking about going over it here, hold on, I wonder if I've got a little rag or something. Ah, yes. If I want to, I can kind of pull out with my with a like a little paper towel, the lights. Let's see, where else is there? On here. It doesn't get rid of everything, but it gets rid of a lot of it. And I don't really have paint down here yet, so I don't really need to worry about that. This will probably dry within a day. And as I go forward and start painting forward, it's okay to actually kind of have this be wet and mix in a little bit with the top colors. So there at some point, but you know, whenever you're at it, at some point, this is a thing that can help you kind of push your paintings forward. And then I'm going to kind of go in with a smaller brush. Let's see. The first thing I'm going to want to do is rinse out my brush with a little bit of Gamsol. I don't want that to be on my painting, but I do want the brush to be kind of clean and stripped. Gamsol is a paint thinner and a paint stripper. Got alcohol in it, so I can like squeeze out and kind of clean out my brush. I could use it again using different colors, or I can use a different brush. Let's see, I've got this one. Let's see what I can do with this one. So definitely there is. So does everybody see kind of why I did what I did? Do you see the value of it?
yeah, I do.
Totally.
And I'm like pulling out a little bit of this orange here because I noticed that there's kind of a darker shadow, right? And a lighter shadow here. So it still has, it's not like I take all the color off. There'll still be a little bit of color on, but I can still kind of emphasize my lights and darks. And look what I did when I did that. I pulled that off and now I've got this nice like sort of area. I can transition to a more gentle. I can make this a little bit lighter or this a little bit darker, probably this a little bit lighter, but there's still a nice transition between light to dark happening here. Let's see.
Are you going to pull the paint off the white on the outside of the duck?
No,
No, okay.
because I haven't put anything really down there yet. So I might as well. I mean, maybe I'll do a little bit. That's actually. So you can see what that looks like. Yeah, I could totally do that.
And that kind of grays it out a little bit too, maybe?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually a good point, Pat. Great use. Yes, good understanding of how, yes, excellent understanding of how that works. I'm just looking to see if I have color. So I can definitely use a bit of white. I can use a little bit of burnt sienna. Oh, definitely green. There's definitely green in here. Here, I'm trying to move away from that. There's a window source to my off on the left here, so it's a light source is kind of flashing on this. I want you to be able to see both these things, so just a little bit, but also to be able to watch the painting. I'm looking at what colors are on. I see Viridian green. I always like to have a little bit of cadmium red, sometimes to mix with the Viridian green. There is definitely colors in here. Burnt sienna for sure. Yep. And now I'm just, I might wipe this off so there's not so much, you know, sort of drifting everywhere. I can also use Galkyd light to make my paintbrush just a little wet. So if I don't want to go in with straight paint, I want it a little bit more liquidy or fluid. And also if I dip into it, it will help my painting dry a little faster. Then I can kind of come in and add this white. Yeah, that was a good idea to pull out the blue, Pat. Otherwise, it would be too blue. And then with a tiny touch of blue and red, I'm going to, it's a little bit grayer and darker. The reflection is a little bit darker than the top. So I'm adding a little bit of burnt sienna and a little bit of blue, teeny tiny bits, because I really want it to read like a white, but I want it to read like a grayish white. And then I'll add some green in and see if that works better. There we go. That looks a little bit grayer. I'm going to take it down here. See how I'm kind of going vertically. And see how my color kind of blending in with my blue is not so bad as I come down. The sort of wet, it creates a kind of wetter mark making. I'm tapping. I will go over probably one more layer as I do this. Slightly darker. Down here. So see how now I'm going sort of horizontally side to side. As I'm adding the reflection in, it gets very wiggly. It's a little blue right now, but that's okay. That'll change right after a while. And then let's see, I've got a bit of green. I'm going to clean up my brush here. Squeeze it out. Get some of that extra with Gamsol. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of green, dark green with a touch of red to create a kind of nice dark green here that I can add in. Now, right now, because I've glazed, I've kind of pushed my contrast back. See how I'm kind of glazing these in. Looking where else I can put this dark green. See, I could use a little more green. So what I'm kind of wanting you to see is how I'm working with that blue that I've put, I've labeled, the blue is definitely mixing in with what I'm laying on top. I'm looking down here now, I can see there's kind of this dark, this is green and red, right? So there's this kind of dark faded area here. It's definitely darker as I come in here. Everything's a lot softer. I'm just looking to see if there's any other place where that green really needs to be. Right now, not so much. But can you see how the reflection is looking softer through this horizontal strokes? I hesitate to go much further than this. Oh, I want to do one more thing before I stop. There's a really interesting kind of gray area in between the top and the bottom reflection. I'm going to mix that. Really, that's like burnt sienna and blue with white. Maybe a touch of green to create a kind of gray. And I am going to put that in here, and it's kind of a medium tone. This is where the water line is. I know there's like white, like ripples around it, but we don't have that in yet. We start by putting this in right here. And all of this is little tiny bits of blue in it because it's not drying right away, which is okay, because I'm going to go back over with other colors later. So I want to stop right there. And then I want you guys to be thinking about where you are in this process. Do you need to get more, do you need to glaze? Do you need to get more color? Do you want to start like layering? You can, if you're going to glaze, you need to glaze in the areas, Pat, that you haven't painted, right? Do you want to just go over with darker colors? Francesca, I saw you send something over right before I started demoing, so let me take a look. Oh yeah, good job, Francesca. So I think you're at a good stage, Francesca, where let the blue dry, and then a glaze would be a good thing for you.
But yeah, since I used like blue,
I would say a green glaze.
green.
Yeah,
Okay.
Viridian green.
Okay.
Yeah, try a green glaze
Okay.
over everything.
Yeah, but I have to dry it a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. So let it dry first, and let's
Okay.
see, Andy, how's it going for you? Let me see. I'm just gonna hold.
I may use the air dryer. Yeah.
Andy, that looks pretty good to me. That looks pretty good to me. Go ahead and start, go ahead and proceed on to the inside, the yellow shapes. Good job. Patty, you liking this duck anymore, or is he driving you crazy?
He's a challenge.
He's getting kind of pretty, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm at because I did put paint.
Do me a favor. I want you to, I'm gonna remove the spotlight. I want you to hold up where you're at. Just hold it up if you can. Oh yeah, I think you should glaze whatever isn't wet blue
Okay,
with Galkid light or some kind of medium, right? Like with the Galkid light, look kind of soft. And just avoid the areas that are wet. So kind of move around the head, but get the background in, get the body, get the
okay,
reflection. I think that will really help in the reflection. And then I think you're ready to start adding colors on. Well, then we'll talk. How's that?
okay. And I can pick my blue?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna